It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Saludos, everybody joining us. It's your boy Dave in the 702 coming at you for that Monday boxing recap known as the Shoe Shine. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
Hey, man, I'm not too sure what happened with our opening intro, but some people have hollered at me that maybe it's time for a refresh anyway, so maybe that was one way of letting me know, Dave, it's time to switch up the intro. So apologies about the rough technical opening, but we're here. It's Monday night. It's kind of a wacky, like this weekend for the sport of boxing, there wasn't too much going on, but there was kind of a heavyweight throwback classic between two guys that probably should hang up the gloves. I'm talking about Joyce, who trains here in Las Vegas, by the way, from the great Salas boxing gym here. And of course, the other guy being Derek Chisora, who's 40 years old. So we're going to get to that one. We're going to get to Clarissa Shields, who still calls herself the greatest of all time in women's boxing, Drew. She adds 2 more titles to her legacy, light heavyweight and heavyweight champ. And the most people I could hear talking about on social media is about the weigh-in, is how thick Clarissa Shields is. I mean, like, seriously, guys, she knocked out a heavyweight champ in 2 rounds, and we're talking about how thick she is. So that's the sport of boxing, but we've got a super fight. We got Riyadh season coming to Los Angeles. I know our good friend Nando is going to be going down to that card in LA. Saludos of Sonteo Media joining us, Chicano Prophet. Drew, I gotta get to this Riyadh season thing. I want to talk about a lot of the news that's been going on, including Canelo Alvarez. It's official, guys. Everybody knows he's gonna be fighting. You know, we talked about it. He's gonna be fighting Edgar Berlanga here in Las Vegas. They're gonna go toe to toe with the UFC, and I'm gonna talk about that, Drew. But today, speaking of, Canelo Alvarez tickets went on sale for the T-Mobile Arena, September the 14th, Mexican Independence Day. By the way, guys, Pacifico Clara is one of my favorite Mexican beers. Saludos to everybody. Drew, tickets went on sale today, and my wife was on the phone just checking. I'm like, I don't really care. Of all the people that he's gonna fight, like, you think I'm gonna shell out money to see that guy? And she's telling me, what do you think the tickets are going to go for? Well, they're going to go for at least $300, even for nosebleeds for him fighting a bum. And Drew, they were $305. They were $305 with fees. And guess what? Those sold out in 2 minutes. So again, I know the scam. Ticket brokers, bots. Y'all need to do some shit about that in Congress, because it should not be legal for companies, for ticket brokers to employ bots to buy all the fucking cheap seats. I could care less about seeing him fight Berlanga, but it's the point, Drew. Nobody bought those seats in 2 fucking minutes. Nobody bought those seats. Bots bought those seats. All right? 2 minutes later, those were gone. The only thing available was $405 plus fees for a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, 2 homies to get into the Canelo Alvarez fight. 860, I don't know, 800. Does that sound like a good time to you? $870 to see Canelo toy with Berlanga for 3, 4, if you're lucky, 5 or 6 rounds?
Hell no. It's a complete mismatch.
Oh, man. Let me know in the chat if you even contemplated going to see this Canelo fight. Oh, man. But interesting enough, they are going toe-to-toe against Dana White. Dana White is going to be holding his Noche UFC event at the Spheres, which I was reading just to put it on so far. They've spent $17 million for this event at the Sphere in Las Vegas, Drew. And in case you're wondering what those tickets are going for, how about that? You want to go see the UFC Mexican the Noche? And by the way, I'll get to who's on this card. Ticket packages, $3,000 to $5,008. That's something here. Additional $199. I don't even know what these are right here. $5,007. You see it has a weird shape, obviously. $4,000. Like, these seats are ridiculous. This is what it costs to go to this UFC Noche event. So, y'all some real ballers that watch this UFC shit. $17 million just to get to where they are now to put on this event. Obviously, Turkey Al-Sheikh, not too happy that Canelo says, "How the hell with you, man? I'm Canelo. I'm going toe to toe with you. I'll go toe to toe with you. My tickets start at $300. Oh wait, $400 now. They start at $400 per person plus fees. Try to top that. Is there value going? Is there even any value going to to Canelo's fight?
No, it's not. Like, tell you the truth, you're going to watch a mismatch, and like, fight's gonna last no more than 4 rounds. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really get how PBC just digging their own grave even more with this, because how much money they're gonna lose with this fight. Like, well, you're gonna put the price tag at like $84, $85 for this pay-per-view, and in order for you to break even, you got to do at least a $15-20 million gate with 800,000 pay-per-view buys, and ain't no way in hell you're getting 800 pay-per-view buys. 800,000 pay-per-view buys. You're not. This fight, tell you the truth, people are probably going to do the fire stick, do the Stream East, do everything. They're going to boycott paying for this fight because they're saying, nah, you want to do this? Fuck you. We're not paying for it. We're just going to watch it for free and everything. And, do I blame them? No, because, to tell you the truth, I'm doing the same thing. I think this is not worth it.
Second week in a row, Drew's admitted to using the fire stick. We're going to get hung on Twitter for that shit. Drew, you can't admit that. Shout out to Audrey Porter. He says, my confession, I watched UFC this weekend instead of anything to do with boxing. No surprise. Clarissa Shields is a hard sell if that's all you got on TV, American TV. Though I did watch that, like I said, I did watch Chisora and Joe Joyce, and I did enjoy that fight. A lot of people, including BoxingScene.com, said it was the worst and best thing in the sport of boxing all at once. How is that even possible? Drew, I told my wife, hurry up and get in here. You got to see this shit. This is like two old guys at the bar fighting, and neither of them want to go down. But one of them did go down, and it was Joe Joyce. Shockingly, it was Joe Joyce that went down in the 9th round by a perfect right hand. The right hand bomb that Derek Chisora was waiting to land. Drew, he still had. I've been saying this guy needs to retire for several fights now. He still had it in him somehow. No legs underneath him. Says he ain't have no plans on retiring yet. He's got at least 3 fights in him left.
I watched this fight, Dave, and I looked at it, and I'm like this before, if you were just going to place a bet for the hell of it, you would place Derek Chisora wins this fight in an upset. He had to be like a 15-1 underdog in this fight. Like, people thought he was going to get stopped. And what happens? He knocks down the juggernaut and wins a decision. And on 2 cards, he wins a decision that he's run 7 rounds on 2 cards and everything. Joyce, Joyce needs to hang him up. He's taking way too much punishment in the head. Like, he has no defense whatsoever. And like, he thought, hey, I'm gonna take these punches and I'm gonna be able to last and knock you out. And 3 times in a row, it hasn't worked. You took too much punishment, and this is where it got you. And the dude's almost 40 years old. You're not going to teach him not defend himself anymore. You're not going to teach him to defend himself better.
Yeah, 38 years old for Joe Joyce. There's not much you're going to teach him, even at the Great Solace Boxing Academy here in Las Vegas.
Like, if you're gonna fight again, I think that the only fight you should go after is a Deontay Wilder fight. I don't think he beats any good heavyweight now. And that's just so he should have been retired. The dude is fighting just to keep money coming into his pocket and everything. It doesn't look like he's going to get hired as a play-by-play analyst for British Boxing Network. I don't know, but like he's just fighting just to keep money in his pocket. And like he said, I got 2 more fights left.
That's a sad state of affairs. Quick shout out to my homeboy Sontel Media. He says, I'm playing with the idea of driving to Santa Monica this Wednesday for the free boxing show being put on. And that's right, guys. It's not being advertised too much. I know I had the graphic last week. I don't think I got it up, Drew, but Wednesday in Santa Monica, they got Mark Castro out of Fresno, who was a strong amateur standout. He's an Eddie Hearn fighter, I believe. And he's fighting El Yuyu, who in Southern California, I think his last name's Acosta. He has a big YouTube channel, a great YouTube channel. He teaches a lot of fitness tips, boxing stuff. He has his own gym, I believe. And he was a standout on Thompson Boxing, now defunct. And I saw him fight recently on a Top Rank card, and I was so excited for him. And he actually lost that fight. So LUU's definitely got a lot of experience. I'm hoping that he's going to put up a good fight against Mark Castro. And shout out to anyone that's going to go check that out in Santa Monica. Be safe, Drew. I hear
it's going to be on the boardwalk, isn't it?
It's going to be on the boardwalk. And do you know what? It's like the only shit you ever hear about Santa Monica these days is how bad the homeless people are attacking people. So be safe, y'all. Be safe going to Santa Monica. I'm sure y'all got it, but that's definitely exciting. Also, Pro Box will be on this Wednesday. We'll get all to that at the end of the show. Speaking of ticket prices, Drew, going back to ticket prices, this Riyadh season, a really good conversation was brought up, and Tim Bradley talked about it on Pro Box today, that Terence Crawford, he just doesn't have that it factor. And we was talking about being a star in the sport of boxing. Yes, yeah, I agree 100% with what Tim Bradley said. Terence Crawford is probably the best generational fighter of this current generation. His accolades speak for them, but he does not have the charisma that Money Mayweather had, and therefore he came to Los Angeles. He's coming to LA to put on the top of the card Riyadh season, and there's fucking tickets available. Excuse me. There's tickets galore, Drew. $111 I checked this morning will get you into this fight this Saturday at the last minute. $111. What happened? What happened? Look at this card. First of all, I'm going to put it up how stacked this card is, and it ain't sold out. That just befuddles me.
I really think Bob could have promoted him a lot better than he did. Like, I think that's part of it. And, like, here's the thing. For him, I think that Terence is the type of guy, was the type that, you know, hey, yeah, promote you, like, you promote me and everything, but you got to get me to good fights and everything. And, like, I really think if Bob would have gave him that Manny Pacquiao fight, this would have been a hell of a lot better for Terence Crawford in the long run. With his, like, and everything. And now that he's not the superstar as people thought he would be. Like, hey, he went on WWE, Rich, that's a start. You go on WWE and people they're promoting you and everything. That's the stuff Terence has to do.
It's what he has to do, but he doesn't necessarily enjoy it. You know, I've been talking a lot about this Netflix TV show, the documentary series called Receiver, which is outstanding, and you guys got to watch it because football season's right upon us. And the standout receiver on that is tight end receiver George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. Drew, he went on WWE. And George Kittle has made no secret about it. He says as soon as he's done with his football career, he wants to go into wrestling. Like he's born for that shit. He's born for the theatrics, for the comedy, for the you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that's Terence Bud Crawford. That's just not him. And perhaps that's why he's not the big star that maybe that Floyd Mayweather was, you know?
Like, I look at it like this. I think his career would have been a lot more financially successful if he had that fight with Manny Pacquiao. And like, I just really see right now, late in his career, this is where he's making most of his money now, and everything. Now, it was like he got told, if Canelo, we're gonna attempt to make Canelo a really strong offer to fight you, and if he doesn't take our offer, we're gonna give you any fight you want. And I think that's his promise to Terence. It's just something unfortunate that Terence Crawford went through in his career that is really put him can we call it a stalemate between being the financial superstar of boxing and just being just that damn good and not making the money for it. If that makes sense. But end of the day, you moving up to another weight class, you're fighting for a championship. You're gonna become a 4-division world champion if you win this fight. And people gotta look at it like this. If I'm Terence Crawford, I cannot really bank on getting the Canelo fight. I gotta bank on which guy in this division is going to make me the most money and be a dominant A side. And if I can bank over 10, I think Turkish is paying him over $10 million for this fight. He might be. And I think if he fights one of the top fighters on 154 in a unification, he's going to make over $10 million. I really think that it's really a hard card to sell now because when this was first made, this was a really stacked card. Now people pulled out. They took the other fighter completely off the card and added 2 heavyweight fights, have a heavyweight fight to it.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Drew, because, well, for one, a lot of people are wanting to see how Andy Ruiz does coming back, the only Mexican-American to become heavyweight champ. Then you got the potential future. Everybody's hanging their hopes on the next American heavyweight star champion, potentially being Jared Anderson from Top Rank. We find him on the card fighting Martin Bakole. Who's he? The former cruiserweight champion? Martin Bakole?
I have no clue.
It's not, guys, correct me if I'm not always up to date on the UK, but I swear that's the UK cruiserweight champion. David Morrell, very exciting fighter that a lot of people think Canelo completely ignored at 168, the WBA mandatory. And now he's moving up to light heavyweight, just like David Benavidez, fighting Hot Rod, guy who's been featured on Pro Box with some big wins over Sullivan Barrera. Andy Cruz, the only guy to recently beat Keyshawn Davis in the Olympics. By the way, shout out to Christine Lopez and the Olympic American boxing team. He's on the card, man. There's a Mexican fighter. Look, Pitbull Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela, who's born actually, I believe, in Sinaloa. He's on the card. You got Andy Ruiz. So why are ticket sales so down? Shout out to Santeo Media. Adi Medi says, man, Berlanga's going to get knocked on his ass so hard that Fat Joe is going to lean back. And also shout out to my boy, Wiley Coyote. Wiley Coyote says, by next week, you should be at 1,000 subscribers. So I will take this moment, Drew, to say, let's get it up to 1,000, man. Tell somebody in your circle of boxing friends. I know you got somebody that watches boxing that may not know about our show, that may be curious about the show, the community we're trying to build. So let them know. Maybe we'll get that 1,000 by next week. That would be amazing. Shout out to YouTube for this vertical streaming, which has increased our channel. Double check you're subscribed with the bell notification. All right, Drew, $111 to go to this fight. The card is stacked. I want to go over the card with you in a little bit. But there's some big news regarding Canelo Alvarez, and we almost ignore this. You guys are talking about Berlanga. Yeah, we all know Berlanga's going to be outmatched, but one thing for sure, apparently now Canelo is not the undisputed 168-pound champion of the world. We heard that they were going to enforce this William Skull fight. They wanted him to fight and defend the IBF title first before any. Canelo said, chill out. I'm working on something with William Skull. And they said, nope, it's too late. You are no longer the IBF champion of the world. Canelo only holds 3 titles, so Berlanga cannot become the undisputed champion. Does it matter to Canelo? It seemed like it was such a big deal that he was the undisputed king at 168. He had that moniker for over 2 years, Drew. But all good things come to an end. So your thoughts on him being finally stripped? Did they do the right thing?
Yeah, they did actually. Tell you the truth, man. Why does he want to keep these belts any longer than he has to? If I were him, move up to 175. Fuck it. There's nobody here in this weight class that's a big fight now. And now you're going to fight a mismatch and everything. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this fight kills the PBC Amazon relationship. I just really think it does. I really think that if Amazon's gonna see it, hey, it seems like we're not making money off you guys. We're just racing the spot and everything for you guys. Because here's the thing. If Amazon had money invested in this, Amazon would not be allowing this fight to go on. Amazon would be telling them, you tell him he picks another opponent. Because we're not putting our money out for him to fight a mismatch about a nobody. We're gonna pick his opponent. And then you're going to go for another DAZN. I'm suing because they're not allowing me to do what I want and everything. This is the same shit that happened with DAZN. They didn't want him. They wanted him to fight a Triple G rematch, or they wanted him to fight somebody of their choosing. But instead, he wanted to fight somebody else. And they're like, nah, you're paying you all this money. You're not picking pushovers. You're gonna. These fights gotta be somewhat fucking competitive and everything. And that's it's a lot of issues, and it's a shame and everything because Canelo is just taking advantage of this situation. He's in the Floyd Mayweather twilight part of his career. And I'm going to take pushovers, and I'm going to pick my fights. I'm going to pick guys that are out of their prime or pushovers and non-risk factors, and I'm going to make my money. And I'm probably gonna rob some people,
or levels below. I mean, Berlanga is obviously levels below Canelo, but he's got that magical ranking, which makes it for the books historically. It's gonna look good on paper. You fought your mandatory, but I remember Floyd Mayweather picking Andre Berto, who wasn't even ranked in the top 10 at the twilight of his career. So, Drew, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. We find Canelo in the twilight of his career, and earlier Chicano Prophet has said that I was trolling him. Hey, Canelo and Terence Bud Crawford have a path to fight each other, so we can finally figure out who the best fighter of this generation was. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually okay with it at this point. I am. Shout out to my homegirl Walk with Rhonda, who I helped celebrate her 1,000 subscriber party, and now she's at well over 4,000. Thank you for coming in and showing some love and support. Now, Drew, Oscar De La Hoya's got this Clap Back Thursday, which is basically just him going on a rant on social media, whatever. You can find it on Instagram or X, Twitter, whatever. And this Thursday, I had to listen to it again. And he has some words to say about Canelo. Remember, they just recently had exchanged a lot of words in Las Vegas, back and forth. A fight that nobody asked for. Throwing shade again at his former prize fighter, his former protege, his former cash cow, a fight that nobody asked for. And interestingly enough, on Clapback Thursday, the other shit he said was that Jaime Munguia leaving him to Top Rank last week, we reported on it, is all cap. So I don't know what okay, the Canelo thing is completely expected, man. There's a little bit of jealousy, obviously, here. But the fact that Jaime Munguia is going to be fighting on ESPN, but still his fighter, you guys think, does that make any sense? I mean, I don't see why he would lie, but this whole Turkey Al Sheikh saying there's partnerships now with ESPN and Golden Boy maybe this is what the first thing with the partnership is, hey, I'm going to let fighters go between different, networks. And that's a great thing, in my opinion, if true. But Drew, do you think it's all cap that Jaime Munguia left?
I look at it like this situation. Like, if he didn't leave, why is he fighting on ESPN and on the top ranked banner? Like, here's the thing right there. Everybody, why would he leave? Well, there's a good question why he left, and there's a good answer for it. When he had that fight with Canelo, Oscar made it all about him. Made the press conferences all about him instead of focusing on Jaime Munguia, the biggest fight of his life, the biggest payday of his career, for the people to notice him, to notice this kid and get this kid out there to the public, to make this kid a star, a global star. You just made it all about you. You took over and everything. You want to talk about Canelo and everything, but you want to talk about Jaime Munguia. And that's what really made me think this is just something that he wants to take away from his fighter, and that's what's fucked up. And I think that his co-promoter kind of got tired of it and said, yo, we need someone that's not going to take the spotlight from him and everything. Try to talk about him and put him in the spotlight. Oscar's not that guy. He took too much personal beef with Canelo over this. And like, Canelo, put the guy a car after the fight. And there's a present for taking the fight. And I think, and understand, hey, this isn't him. This is all Oscar and everything. But, I think Oscar really needs to really think about this, because if this turns out to be cap, what he's saying, he made a bigger ass out of himself than what he did during that whole buildup.
Yeah, Addy mentioned Eric Bazinian as part of Eye of the Tiger Management, who puts on cards on ESPN Plus. So the Munguia fight for Bazinian will be on ESPN just this one time. But, if it leads to him fighting Jaime, and I'm talking about Jaime Munguia getting an opportunity or a pathway to fight for the IBF title that's going to be vacated against William Skull or the eventual winner, I'm all for it. I'm also all for the fact that, hey, Christian Mbili is a future star at Top Rank at the 168 division. If it leads to, Jaime Munguia in an all-action slugfest against Christian Mbili, I'm all for it too. But yeah, a bunch of fake news last week reported, guys, and obviously the model for the partnership is here. All you have to do is looking at this Riyadh card that's got fighters from PBC on it. You got Pitbull Cruz, Jose Valenzuela. Obviously, we know how Crawford feels about PBC. You got Andy Cruz, Jared Anderson, a top-ranked ESPN fighter, on this card. David Morrell, PBC. Hot Rod is kind of a free agent, fights here and there, and Andy Cruz being a match turn fighter. This is the best scenario I can envision as a result of Turki Al-Sheikh being involved in boxing.
If we look at it like this, PBC is losing a lot of its power over fighters that they have. They're now going on different networks, different platforms for bigger paydays. And they're all getting smarter. Venezuela, I'm really surprised because he's in that Benavidez camp and how loyal they are to PBC and everything. But I think that if we look at it, he's going to hack. This is a payday he thought he had to take because he really isn't going to be a contender. He's fighting for a title, but he might be that cringe contender / gatekeeper because he lost twice already. So, and let's look at it like this. I do not expect him to beat Pitbull. I expect him to get knocked out by Pitbull. And, if we look at it, this was a payday he had to take. And PBC can't really offer these guys the paydays that they want. And I think guys have finally taken control of their own careers and say, yo, I need to fight on this card. If this dude can keep me active, it will be, it would be good for me to stay active. And I think that's why a lot of these guys are leaving PBC. Brandon Lee left to go to Queensberry, surprisingly. Went to Queensberry. Well, he could have went to Matchroom, he could have went to Top Rank and everything, but Frank gave him a chance, put him and everything, had him fight on the prelims of a Chisora Joyce card.
Right. I've got his picture up. Drew, he made his debut this weekend fighting in the UK, and he fought against a very unorthodox, kind of crazy Mexican. And actually, Brandon Lee is interesting enough. He's Korean and Mexican, mixed race fighter, late 20s. Still kind of a prospect at the 140-pound division, though undefeated. A lot of people thought his ceiling was going to be really, really high. But every time he seems to step up in competition, even fighting Mexican guys we never heard of, dude, he failed to impress this weekend. I mean, you're in your late 20s. You should have been past this stage. You've been way too inactive, not fighting enough to go from prospect to contender. Even if you're naturally talented, naturally athletic, he just ain't fighting enough. And it reminds me of the sad situation that Gary Russell's brother recently found himself in. I thought that dude had world champion all over him, and he couldn't get past the former enclomiphene champion at 140 recently. You're not fighting enough. You're not fighting often enough, and you're not fighting harder competition at each level so you're not progressing. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Brandon Lee.
And
Is he going to
keep
who's he going to keep fighting? Guys like this and not looking impressive?
And that's the thing with, if you look at it, that's the thing that's going to happen with Tank. Tank is not as active as people think he is.
I think people are going to disagree with you. Now there's Terence Crawford, guys. He's been fighting once per year for the next past 4 years. Drew, hold that thought. I just want to shout out LW Boxing's comment. He says, Jarrett Hurd versus Jason Banana Rosario on Pro Box on 821, two PBC guys, former world champions. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Jarrett Hurd? I know that Jason Rosario was the 154-pound champion. He got knocked out by Brian Mendoza, who we've interviewed here on the show. But Jarrett Hurd, he was a world champion too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was a 154-pound champion.
Exactly. Two former 154-pound champions fighting on Pro Box. And I like fights like that. I'll tell you why. I love fights like those. Are crossroad fights, man. These are like the kind of fights like Danny Garcia is the co-main to Canelo Alvarez, September 14th, Mexican Independence Day, for a world title opportunity. The guy hasn't fought in ages, never fought at middleweight. But Jarrett Hurd and Jason Rosario, who knows? Crossroads fight. Win this one, you might get yourself a big opportunity. And congratulations to Philadelphia's Danny Garcia. How did he manage to get a world title fight at 160, being so inactive, Drew? Are you happy at least about that, man? Philadelphia will be right here representing Las Vegas on Mexican Independence Day.
I look at it like this. If we can see, Danny Garcia has one fight in 4 years. And now he's moving up to a weight class he's never been at. Fighting Enisali Lara, that's been also inactive. He's over 40 years old and everything. This is really a toss-up fight because how much in the tank does both these guys have left? And if this is right in that Danny should be the older statesman. So steamroll past him. But this is a guy moving up. He hasn't been active and everything. So it's just something that I'm surprised Law still has that title.
Well, great point. Lara, 40 years old Cuban star. Yeah, people are going to forget. Casual fans or new fans are going to forget that Canelo Alvarez had one of the most difficult career fights he's ever had against a prime Arislandy Lara. And Lara was much older than Canelo even at that point. Still one of the most questionable, debatable wins on the record of Canelo Alvarez. And that guy happens to be his co-main. They're only 8 pounds apart. One begs the question, if Lara knocks out Danny Garcia, which is a tall task, Danny Garcia is very rugged, but will people start to say, damn, He's 160. You talking about fighting Terence but Crawford from 154 to 168. How about rematching this? I mean, at this point, you're talking about Canelo is cherry picking, carefully fighting fighters past their prime. Bro, it's not an exhibition if Lara is the middleweight champion. You know, like, could we see that run back? I'm just thinking out loud.
Man, I don't even want to think about it.
If we think Canelo's getting shit for fighting Berlanga now, but wait, what kind of shit would he get for fighting a 40-plus-year-old Arislan Lara? Man, Triple G was almost 40 when he decisively finally beat him.
You want to know what the difference is and why people will more likely not pay for the fights like they did back in the day with Mayweather just to see him lose? Just to hope that he loses anything. Because Canelo lost already. Canelo lost twice already. And Canelo lost to a guy that many thought he was going to beat in Bivol. And Bivol flat out outboxed him for 12 rounds and, in my opinion, easily beat Canelo. So that's the main point between these two. Flo is undefeated, and you are paid to hope that someone beats the shit out of him.
Man, Drew, I'm glad that's perfect. I mean, that's absolutely true. One of the big allure of Floyd Mayweather's career was people wanting to see him lose his. Oh, and by the way, do you think Dana White, he's going to be watching Canelo across the street on his television from the Sphere in Las Vegas, watching what Canelo's up to on fight night? We see it right here, man. He's watched Canelo at his own fights in the past.
I look at it like this. He knows he's going to beat Canelo. They're going to beat Canelo's pay-per-view. They're going to landslide beat it. But because I don't really think this pay-per-view is lucky if it does $250K. It really is, because
they're
going to look at it. They're going to look at it and they're going to say, we lost a shitload of money on this. Thank God this was the last fight of this deal.
Shout out to Wile E. Coyote. He says, Dana White will be live streaming illegally. Drew, good point. Even Dana, with all the money, might not be paying for the Berlanga fight. He might just have one of those portable little fire sticks plugged into his monitor.
And the thing about it is, here's the thing. He's going to get through this fight, and then he's going to go back to Eddie Hearn.
Could be.
And then they're going to tell him, hey, here's your problem now. We're not signing him to another big contract. We can't afford him. And if he's not going to fight who we want him to fight, nah, we're good. And David Benavidez didn't really do himself any favors either, and everything. It seems like look at it like this. Sampson is loyal to PBC. Sampson, if this fight would have got made, and Canelo say, oh, he's gonna have to fight on DAZN. Sampson would not let him fight on DAZN. Dude, I would have already, if I was him, I would have already took you to court for breach of contract because you're not doing what my contract says you're supposed to do. Make me the most money possible and give me help me get the biggest opportunities possible, and you're taking the biggest opportunity and payday away from me. But I really, Sampson has not really done any favors. Benavidez Kim has not done any favors. But they are still the likes of David Morrell that he could have fought, and he did not want no parts of David Morrell. So I look at it like this. He's going to go back to Eddie Hearn. And he can feed him somebody else. Or he can have them try to give him a mandatory and Billy. It's just complicated. He's not going to move up to 175. I think the only motivation should be after this is go up to 175 and avenge your loss and everything. But I don't think we're going to see that because Beaver, he really fucked himself over. No, how did he fuck himself over? He beat the dude already. he should be entitled to fight for Canelo's belts if he chooses to, and he wanted to fight at 168. And Canelo did not want to do that because he was not confident he could beat Evil, and to keep the belts on him, he wanted to fight at 175. It's point blank. He didn't feel confident that he could beat Demetrius Bivol. He just wants to make that fight again to stay face and everything.
All right. Well, that's a good question to pose to the chat. If you guys think that Canelo Alvarez was just doing all cap to rematch Bivol, because he did have an opportunity to allow Bivol to fight him at 168. Bivol was adamant, I can make the weight. His training camp, his coaches, everyone said, hey, he can make 168 without even flinching. And Canelo didn't go for that. He wasn't open to fighting him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of this show or right now in the chat. By the way, Adi Madi says it's a weak card at the Sphere. Well, these are the headliners. O'Malley and Shevchenko, the co-main, they're fighting for Grasso's title, I believe, right? Up and down the card, I find it a hard sell for Mexican-American or Mexican fans, and let alone the price of admission to get into this event. And then I see at the very bottom, I see Bud Light. I thought Bud Light was... I thought you couldn't even say Bud Light. You know what I'm saying? Like, all Canelo has to do is bring Modelo on board.
Like, I look at it like this, Dave, and I get heat sometimes for saying this. Like, I don't understand why Andre Ward gets a lot of heat because of what he says and everything. He hates on Canelo too much. But let's be honest. Andre Ward had a better career at super middleweight than Canelo Alvarez did. All right, he went undisputed, Canelo Alvarez, but let's look at it like this, Dave. Let's compare fights at 168. Who fought the better opposition at 168 at that time? Andre Ward. And I'll tell you this for now. Andre Ward fought the better opposition by a landslide over the guys that Canelo beat for that belt.
Is it because Andre Ward participated in the Super Six?
Mainly. But if you look at it like this, he beat Mikkel Kessler, which was a champion. Arguably beat Joe Kazagi. I had him beating Joe Kazagi. And in my opinion, one of the best fighters at that time in 168. Beat him. Then beat Arthur Abraham, which was a former middleweight champion, former super middleweight champion, undefeated at the time, coming off good wins and everything. And Andre Ward easily beat Arthur Abraham in Germany, I believe. Or in Oakland, I think. And then fought Alan Green, which was a really good fighter too at that time. He was in his prime. Easily beat Alan Green. Then beat Sakio Bika, which Sakio Bika was one of those contenders that could really give anybody a fight for their money and everything.
I remember him.
And then after that, beat Carl Foch. Say what you want about Carl Foch. Carl Foch was a really good fucking fighter back.
I think overall, I can agree with you that the 168 division was much more exciting, much more diverse, had a much larger crop of talent. Period. You even had Lucien Boutet, who was kind of a fake champion from England. I'm sorry, from France.
From
Quebec, Canada. Yeah, I'm thinking of that because of the girl that just fought Clarissa.
But here's the other thing. He gave Chad Dawson his first professional loss, dominating fashion, and then he went and fought against Sergey Kovalev, the guy that no one could touch, the crusher, the guy
but he needed to. Didn't he need to? Specifically, he said, I need 2 fights to get acclimated to 175. Canelo didn't get acclimated to 175. He jumped right up and fought Kovalev and knocked out Kovalev.
But he fought the first fight that he fought at 175 was Kovalev, and won.
So he didn't need a weight. He didn't take a tune-up.
No, he didn't take a tune-up. He fought Barrera at 168.
I swore he took. It's up for a great debate. We could do a whole episode, a whole
I
half-hour segment on this.
He's the guy that exposed the Crusher, Kovalev, and beat him twice. And we gotta look at it like this, man. I think people gotta stop and just give Andre Ward his flowers on a great career that he had. He had a better one than Canelo.
Why is he teasing us? By the way, go watch the sparring session with him and Terence Crawford and tell me if that was actual work. That shit looks so fake. It didn't really look like good work.
But here's the thing, man. Andre Ward was one of the best fighters back then.
All right. Hey, man, he represents the Bay Area. I can't knock him, even though he's controversial.
He was one of my favorite fighters back then.
I think he retired way too early, personally.
Yeah, because he reminded me of a lot of Bernard Hopkins.
I think his career could have gone much longer. I know he said he had injuries, but I see him sparring, teasing us with the fact that he might come back. Andre Ward might come back. Always teasing us like he could get back in shape and fight Canelo. Do it. I'll support you. Drew, a couple more things before we move on to the Riyadh card. Clarissa Shields moves up to heavyweight. I'll talk about that. On Friday, everybody was all up on social media, X, talking about her frame because she's thick. She already a big girl, a strong woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, she has a solid build. Now she's at heavyweight, and the competition is so weak. So what's next for Clarissa Shields? You talking about people can't sell 250,000 pay-per-views. Who even saw Clarissa Shields fight? She beat the girl up in 2 rounds.
She's not a draw. Clarissa, let's get on this topic right now. She's not a draw whatsoever. And to look at it like this, Clarissa Shields should not be calling herself the greatest woman of all time, because here's the thing. Her weight classes do not have a lot of fighters in them. Over half the fighters are below 500 records, if we're going to be keeping a beam with you. But look at it like this. The better boxers are in the lower weight classes. And she's trying to say, I want these fighters, and they're going to fight me at 154. Let's pump the brakes on that. You're not an A side to none of these women. You are not an A side to them because they're more of a draw than you. Bumgarner's more of a draw than her. Serrano's more of a draw than her. Katie Taylor's more than a draw than her. Like, she don't get it. She's not that big of a draw. And people, like, if you look at it, Savannah Marshall was the A side of that fight when they fought. Savannah Marshall is the A side. She's not an A side. And she was an A side heel because no one knew the girl that she was fighting. But Clarissa Shields needs to pump the brakes, because, tell you the truth, does she beat a Leia Ali? No, she doesn't. Does she beat an Ann Wolf? No, she does not. And let's keep it being here.
Hey, Drew, on the subject of Clarissa Shields, she's a 2-time gold medalist. The Olympics are upon us. I'm going to give a shout out to Christine Lopez, who has her own channel here, In the Ring with Christine, Olympic coach. Obviously, if you guys have been keeping up, Omari Jones looks like he is the most likely to medal, but today Joshua Edwards, super heavyweight, was eliminated. Jahaira Gonzalez, do you know who she's the sister of? Do you know who she used to date? You know, Joette Gonzalez fought Shakur Stevenson, 126.
Oh, yeah.
You remember how Joette's sister was dating Shakur Stevenson? At the time, unfortunately, she was a high prospect to place and medal, but she was eliminated by, I believe, a current IBF champion. And this is what really pisses me off. I'm just going to touch on the Olympics. Of course, prayers to all our 2024 Olympic team. We wish them the best, Drew. But she lost to a current world champion. Jahaira lost to a current world champion in professional boxing. Jalalalov, the gold medalist, the guy that beat, last time the silver medalist, he's back in it, dude. He's back in it as super heavy. He's going to win the gold for like the 3rd time. Is it fair that professional athletes get to compete? It just does not make any sense to me that pro boxers were allowed to, because they keep making this argument. Oh, the basketball team has professionals playing. So why can't
Here's the thing. Olympic boxing is based off an amateur score system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why pro boxers should have nothing to do with it. Now, when it comes to basketball, international players they all play in pro leagues around the world. You consider them professional leagues. So you are gonna have professionals play on teams because everybody plays in a professional league. It doesn't matter if it's the NBA, if it's a league in Greece, a league in Turkey, or a league in France. They'll still play professional basketball, and that is what it means. But in the boxing, this is scored in an amateur system, and this is actually considered towards your amateur record. So, for pro boxers to argue that they should be able to compete, no, you don't have an argument. You shouldn't be competing in it. Your amateur career's over, and I don't understand why a pro boxer is in it. But
yeah, by the way, he's signed with Top Rank, and yet he's yet to fight anybody really solid. He's undefeated with a record of, I think, 15-0, and he's back in the fucking Olympics. Excuse my language. Give the guy from Fresno a chance that you beat last time for a medal. Give him a chance in the pros, But no, he's back at the Olympics, and it looks like he's going to be the gold medalist again.
Yeah,
and he hasn't fought anybody of note in the professional ranks, and he signed with Top Rank. Come on, bro. It's time to step it up and fight contenders in the top 10. Joyce isn't on his resume. Derek Chisora, Dillian White. I mean, he's got nobody of note on his professional residence. Jared Anderson finally stepping it up with even bigger names than Jalalov.
If we look at all of this, Clarissa Shields is doing nothing for her career because, if we're gonna be honest, she does try to weight bully people at times. Look at it like this. They said that she's the heaviest she ever was. Rehydrating.
Yeah, she definitely, she was a lot big. It was crazy because my wife and I were watching that, and she was like, wow, Lepage is her name. Lepage Jonis from Quebec, Canada, as you mentioned. She's the heavyweight. I'm like, yeah, she's the heavyweight champ. She looked so small compared to Clarissa Shields. It wasn't even fair. It was quite obvious she wasn't in the same caliber of talent as Clarissa Shields. So it was non-eventful to talk about. Well, Drew, that brings us to my last thing on the news bit, and then we'll get on to Riyadh season this Saturday because it's a tremendous card. Guys, by the way, Wednesday, if you're in Southern California, you can go see the Riyadh pre-fights on Wednesday at Santa Monica Boardwalk. I believe it'll just be out there. Free fights on Wednesday. One last thing of note, man. Ryan Garcia traveling the world to troll Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao fighting in Japan over the weekend against a kickboxing star, world champion, a much bigger fighter. But 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, who wants to fight Mario Barrios for the WBC welterweight champion, a fight Mario Barrios and his team were inviting, saying, yeah, this shit sounds good to me. But he landed a great shot here, Drew, but the consensus is he didn't look like he could beat any boxing stars today. What's he doing? Aside from making cash.
I really think Manny Pacquiao needs to just stay retired. He had a great career. It's just time. You're 45 years old, dude. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're going to hurt your legacy as it is. Giving somebody like Mario Barrios that win and everything. And, people are going to say, he didn't beat a Pacquiao in his prime. He beat a guy that was tired and everything. And look at him. He's not in boxing shape and everything. He's not in shape at all in a box.
Yeah, and Drew, you're right, man. To go ahead and take the opportunity from welterweight who's still active and been fighting, an opportunity for Mario Barrios to potentially unify against a great fighter like Jerome Boots Ennis from Philadelphia. It's just not fair. It's just not fair.
Like,
Go ahead.
it's just not. It's just not right for this dude to fight. Like, it's just not. Like, he's out of shape. Like, he's not in boxing shape anymore. I really if we're gonna look at it like this, if we're gonna look at it out of all the champions at 147, Mario Barrios is the easiest pickings because he's the easiest fight to win. Like, he was like practically given the belt, elevated, but is
Yeah, and I don't even think.
So is
I'm not sure from what we saw. From what we saw, I'm not sure that this version of Manny Pacquiao could beat a young Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios is plenty still young and hungry. Just had a baby, by the way. Shout out to him.
Yeah, I just like, can he catch Barrios with a nice punch and on him? Yeah, he can still. But I just don't see it likely that he can beat a Mario Barrios like this right now. But it's just a really bad thing to bring up, like Manny Pacquiao potentially trying to come back. It's not right. And I think I think they'll do anything they can to keep the belt on Barrios as long as possible and everything because PBC's running out of champions in their stable. So we'll see, man. It's just.
Well, they say in boxing, you're only good as your last performance. And this weekend, I just brought it up again. But Derek Chisora, who I said should have retired a long time ago, he fights like he's unconscious and still managed to win a great win for him against Joyce. He's getting the phone's ringing, dude. Zalil Zhang, Big Bang Zhang's talking about, hey, Chisora, what's up? I'll fight you. And Zhang is 40 plus himself. It looks like Dillian White now is entertaining the trilogy now, or didn't they already have a trilogy?
Nah, they fought twice. But here's the thing. I think they will try to use this as to get them back on the winning track. Dillian White, get himself back on the winning track. But Zhang, I think, just to get him back and like knocking somebody out. But because he beat Wilder, got himself back into it. But there's always going to be an issue with his stamina and everything because how old he is, how over, like, he comes in almost 300 pounds and he's 40. So that's going to be his main issue going forward, Zhang. But Dillian White is there to be taken to get a win against. I think Dillian White is on gatekeeper status. He's not ever going to be a world champion. He's not ever going to be a threat to be world champion.
Well, Drew, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. So we're coming up on the full hour of the show. Obviously, this is a great fight. Unfortunately, it's not selling as well. If you're interested in seeing this fight in person, there's plenty of opportunity. I saw that tickets on third parties, brokers are going for as low as $111 out the door to get into the building. And this is the kind of fight card that typically for a big fight fan like Drew and I, a lot of these fights are straight up main event fights. All right. Pitbull Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela. That's a main event in its own right. 140-pound title on the line. The return of Andy Ruiz versus Gerald Miller. Well, I mean, it could on a slow weekend headline.
Down 40 pounds. He's down 40 pounds.
Jared Anderson on Top Rank, free television, absolutely a main event type fighter. David Morrell, he's headlined in Minnesota where he lives. Absolutely could be a main event. Andy Cruz is the only one, the gold medalist, that's still kind of like fringe prospect level right now. Well, this is a great card. Wholeheartedly.
Look at it like this, Dave. All but one fight's going to end in knockout.
And I want to have a second show this week, Drew. I'm going to come back and do a parlay and go through the parlay because everyone's talking about their parlay for the main event here, which I think DraftKings is going to have and other websites are going to have fantastic opportunities. So we'll get into this more in depth. Let's just go to the top of the card, man. This main event going for his fourth championship in a fourth division. Okay, it's not his fourth belt, but obviously fourth division. Moving up to junior middleweight, after becoming undisputed, beating the brakes off Errol Spence. People didn't think Terence Bud Crawford was going to do that. We knew he was going to do that. But this is a whole new beast in Madrimov, a guy who becomes champion in less than 12 fights. Nobody talks about him. We don't talk about Madrimov. I've never talked about Israel Madrimov. He won a title on a Riyadh season card. We talk about Tim Tszyu. We talk about Virgil Ortiz, Jesus Ramos Jr., you talk about Bohacek. You talk about the Towering Inferno. Erickson Lubin. But this guy, Israel Madrimov, completely unknown to the casual boxing fan. Even hardcore boxing fans haven't watched much tape on him. But like all these great Eastern European fighters, man, he's got one thing in common. They train right here in the Inland Empire with Joel Diaz, Antonio Diaz. This is the base camp for some of the best European champions. He's strong as an ox. And the last time I seen Terence Bud Crawford fight a guy that was strong as an ox was the Mean Machine. And some of you know that was probably the only time we've ever seen Terence Bud Crawford get dropped. Didn't count. They didn't count it, but that's the only time we've seen him get dropped.
I think this fight ends in decision. I think Crawford wins a decision against Madrimov. I think Madrimov's going to give him problems, but I think this is going to go in like an 8-4 decision to Terence Crawford. So I'm going Crawford by decision.
Yeah, and I won't discuss the other fights, Drew, because I do want to come back to this later in the week for a second show. Make sure you guys are subscribed and hit the bell notification, Drew. But regarding Terence Crawford, both of these guys can fight ambidextrously, but Terence Crawford is just his skill set. Being able to fight left-handed or right-handed is supreme. It's going to be way more supreme over Madrimov. Madrimov's got a lot of power, but if you guys haven't watched him fight, his shots are looping and they're wide power shots. And eventually the timing, the ring IQ of Terence Crawford, he's going to be waiting to time him and catch him coming in sloppy defense, dude. He's going to walk into a hook. He also throws a really lazy jab. If you watch the way he throws his jab, his hands are off and down, and he returns back to his center position slowly. I mean, way too slow. I think the speed is going to be there.
But you know what? I am going to give Santino one question answered. He asked me who I picked between Pitbull and Arroyo. I'm picking Pitbull by knockout. I think he's going to knock out Venezuela. And you got to look at it. Venezuela has been knocked out before.
Yeah, when he went toe-to-toe with the Dominican fighter, Santos. Santos is the guy that Shakur Stevenson made look like a fool in the most boring championship fight ever, a Formula One weekend.
Yeah, he's got to be more of a boxer against Pitbull. He's got to stay out of Pitbull's range. He's got to fight more tall and everything. And I don't believe he's able to do that. He's gonna be fake. He's gonna get that urge that he's gonna have to go fight toe to toe with Pitbull, and he's gonna get caught. He's gonna get knocked out. And like I said, like Ohio is gonna turn in is a cringe contender or someone that's never got to that level.
Yeah, he's had some fantastic wars already. You mentioned the one with Colbert. Interesting enough, I mean, Santiago Media is here in the chat. You know that Robert Garcia is taking over as his main coach, and he's had a hell of a camp, man. I've been watching. Rayo's got a great YouTube channel. They've been posting up fantastic content about his preparation for this fight, Drew. But one thing that worries me about that is that it looks like he's had a fantastic freaking camp with Robert Garcia. Santiago, is that I heard that Ruben Villa from Salinas went down to train and spar extensively at Robert Garcia. I'm wondering if Robert Garcia's people in the gym roughed up Ruben Villa too much, because it looked like he overtrained. Ruben Villa looked the poorest I've ever seen him in his career, fighting just a few weeks back here at the Palms Casino. I'm hoping that Jose Valenzuela at Rayo didn't overtrain, Drew. Is he be getting too much work in the gym? Because you're right, man. If he goes toe-to-toe with Pitbull Cruz, he absolutely stands a chance of getting hit with some shots that he doesn't see. It is a Mexican battle. It's what fans want to see. They want to see all heart, all action. They don't want to see people tripping off if they're going to get knocked out. But he can get caught. And he also does have the slick. He does have slick boxing skills, man. He could beat Pitbull Cruz by a decision.
But the thing about it is, he does have to be able to keep Pitbull off of him. And I don't think he's going to be able to hook Pitbull. That's the one thing about it.
Well, you're right.
He's got to be able to have enough power to keep Pitbull honest at times. And I don't think he's got that power to hurt Pitbull. I really think that how this is going to go, he's going to follow a boxing formula for a couple rounds using his height and his reach against Pitbull. But Pitbull will get inside and
force him to fight his fight?
Fight his fight. But I think Orion will try to counter that by playing the counter puncher and using the wing. But I think that he's got to make his only chance at this is to be the boxer and make sure that your opponent does not cut the wing off. Use the wing to your advantage, even if it becomes a burn fight. Score the jab, score some counter shots, enough to make the fight, enough to your advantage to get a decision in this fight. You're not gonna get a knockout. You gotta play hardcore chess in this fight against a guy that doesn't give a fuck about chess. He just wants to take your head off and play checkers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I got Terence Bud Crawford. I'm just for the preview because, like I said, we're going to come back this week and go through this thing with the parlays on the major sports betting apps. I do have Pitbull Cruz winning this in a very tough fight, but I would not be surprised, man, if you pick El Rayo there for the upset. A lot of funny shit has happened at the 140-pound weight division, Drew. A lot of funny stuff has happened in that division. I want to thank everybody that's come on here. I'm going to give Drew an opportunity to rant because I do have to wrap up the show a little bit early tonight. Drew, we're going to come back. We'll do a parlay real quick, a 30 minutes or a 45-minute show later this week, Wednesday or Thursday, if you don't mind. Your final thoughts?
Tell you the truth, I might even be. We might even have this show early at fucking night, like fucking 6 or 7 o'clock in my time. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Hey, I'm here. I'm available.
I might be up for it. I gotta see, but I look at it like this. We do. I look at my parlays. I haven't done a parlay in a while. The last parlay I did, I hit on the Lomachenko one and everything. But I see this as a parlay that could be very easy to win with. And I think like I tell people right now, if we're going to, my parlay would be, and we're probably gonna make a parlay together, me and Dave. But my parlay personally, like I said, like 10 minutes ago, 5 of these out of 6 of these fights is gonna end in knockout.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to see what you're gonna say. Don't say the
Crawford fight.
All right, but don't say anymore. Don't say anymore. Hey, if you guys haven't already subscribed, if you're new to the show, I appreciate you guys tuning in for me and Drew's Monday Night Shoeshine Boxing Recap. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. I can't stress how important it is. If you got somebody in your circle of friends that enjoys the sport of boxing as much as we do, make sure you let them know. Also, football season is around the corner, and Drew are going to be coming back with our second season of our football preview show.
And we also got the Undisputed game coming up, and we're going to try to play it on here.
That's straight up.
Play it on a night at 12 boxing by playing it like if one of us or both of us gets the game, do a career mode or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm feeling him, guys. On behalf of me, Andrew Evo, we will see you guys later this week. Appreciate everybody that's been rocking with the Shoeshine. Until then, we'll see you later. Peace out, everybody.